Meet Pete. It is 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling because his brain simply will not shut up. He is running mental simulations of every financial disaster that could destroy his entire life by tomorrow morning. The car transmission dies, his laptop screen cracks, or his cat needs a surgery he cannot afford. This specific flavor of panic is the default state for millions of people living on the financial edge. But there is a specific number that deletes this anxiety and rewires your brain's relationship with reality. Most people assume that number is $1 million or enough to buy a private island. They are wrong. The most life-altering financial milestone is actually much smaller, yet significantly harder to reach. It is $10,000. That is the exact amount where survival mode ends and life begins. Today, we're breaking down the math and psychology of why this specific number changes everything for Pete. If you feel stuck in the anxiety loop, this is the roadmap out of the red zone. Before we analyze the victory, we must vividly remember the specific pain of having $0 saved. You know the feeling when Pete stands in the grocery aisle, paralyzed by a simple box of cereal. He mentally calculates if the name brand will destroy his budget, or if he must eat cardboard. Or when friends suggest dinner and he invents a lie because he cannot admit he is broke. A $25 meal would shatter his budget for the week, so he stays home alone instead. This is the reality of living paycheck to paycheck. Every choice is a defensive move against disaster. You are constantly looking over your shoulder, waiting for the one expense that knocks you down. But when Pete finally accumulates $10,000, a strange psychological phenomenon happens inside his brain. It has nothing to do with buying luxury items. In fact, his spending habits barely change at all. The transformation is invisible. The first thing to shift is his relationship with the concept of risk. When you have zero savings, every decision feels dangerous. A new job or a move feels impossible. You know that one wrong step could leave you homeless, so you stay paralyzed in bad situations. But with $10,000 sitting in the bank, those same terrifying decisions suddenly feel manageable. Pete isn't going to quit his job to join a circus, but he might finally ask for a raise. He might finally invest in a course or certification that boosts his earning potential for the long term. The safety net doesn't make him reckless, but it gives him permission to think beyond next Friday. There is also a fascinating biological change that happens when you see 5 figures in your account. Neuroscientists have found that financial security actually reduces cortisol, the primary stress hormone flooding your body. Reaching $10,000 doesn't just change the bank balance, it physically changes how your body reacts. Think about the last time a warning light flashed on your dashboard. Without savings, that's a crisis. It becomes a countdown timer to financial ruin. You panic about credit cards and borrowing from family. But when you have the cash, that same warning light is just an annoyance, not a catastrophe. You are annoyed, sure, but your heart rate doesn't spike. You simply fix the car and move on. This shift from panic to mild annoyance seems small, but it ripples through every part of life. When Pete isn't worried about survival, he sleeps better. He is more patient with his friends. Financial stress infects every aspect of behavior. Removing it unlocks mental energy you didn't know you had. But here's the secret most people miss about the $10,000 milestone. It is a paradox. The benefit does not come from spending the money. It comes from simply knowing the money exists. Experts call this the emergency fund effect. It is peace of mind packaged as a bank balance. Most people who build this fund never actually spend it on emergencies. They spend it on opportunities. They move to better cities. They start businesses. They have the mental bandwidth to increase their income for the long term. There is also a confidence factor that is impossible to measure but impossible to ignore in business. When you know you have cash, you negotiate differently. You are willing to walk away from bad deals. This confidence usually leads to better job offers because desperation smells like fear to a hiring manager. Now, you might be thinking $10,000 sounds impossible if you currently struggle to save $50. But here's the truth about human psychology. The hardest part isn't the math, it's the identity. Most people treat saving like a crash diet. They suffer for 2 months, then binge and quit. The people who reach $10,000 don't view it as sacrifice. They view it as an identity shift. Pete stops seeing himself as a spender and starts seeing himself as a builder of wealth. When you identify as a saver, you notice expenses you can cut that you never saw before. You become creative about income. You start thinking in years instead of thinking in hours and days. The beautiful thing is it gets easier. The first $1,000 is an absolute war. It requires massive lifestyle changes and willpower. But the second 1,000 is noticeably easier to keep. By the time you are working towards your 5,000, the process feels automatic and almost boring. There's also a fascinating mathematical reality that makes $10,000 the ultimate shield against bad luck. This amount covers almost any unexpected expense that usually derails people: car repairs, medical bills, job loss. Most of these disasters cost less than 10 grand. This means you are effectively immune to them. You've built a wall between your lifestyle and the chaos of the world. That is powerful. Perhaps the biggest change is how Pete starts thinking about money itself. It stops being a vanishable resource. Before savings, money feels scarce. Every dollar spent is gone forever. But now, money is a tool. Pete begins to understand that money can create more money. This is where investing finally becomes possible. People don't start investing because they are geniuses. They start because they finally have mental space. When you aren't worried about rent, you can wonder about the stock market. You can research assets. Here is something that might blow your mind. The saver with 10 grand is richer than high earners. You probably know someone earning 6 figures who is always broke. They drive luxury cars but have zero. Meanwhile, Pete might earn $40,000 a year but has $10,000 in the bank. Who is freer? The difference isn't income, it is mindset. Reaching 10,000 is a masterclass in controlling your impulses. You learn to distinguish between wants and needs. You find joy in stability rather than in consumption. Most importantly, you develop the patience to delay gratification. That is the single most valuable financial skill. Now let's look at practical terms. What does 10,000 actually do for Pete's daily life? First, it covers any car repair short of a new engine. Mechanical failure is no longer scary. Medical emergencies become manageable too. Deductibles and urgent care visits usually fall well within this specific range. You aren't paying for brain surgery with cash, but you can handle 90% of health issues. Job loss is the scariest scenario for everyone, but 10,000 buys you 3 months of freedom. That is enough time to find a good job rather than desperately taking the first bad offer. But here's where it gets really interesting. Money doesn't just protect you, it opens new doors. Maybe Pete hears about a certification that costs $2,000 but raises his salary by $10,000. Without savings, that opportunity is a fantasy. With savings, it's an obvious and easy investment. Or perhaps a friend starts a business. Without cash, you can only wish them good luck. With 10,000, you have the option to participate in something that could change your trajectory. I'm not saying invest your emergency fund in crypto. I'm saying options feel different than restrictions. The psychological impact extends to your social life. Money stress is a leading cause of relationship failure. When Pete isn't terrified of his bills, he's a better friend, partner, and family member. He's less irritable, he's less anxious, he's more present in his interactions with others. There is also the walk-away power. You walk into interviews differently when you don't need the job. You are more likely to negotiate for higher pay because you are not operating from pure fear. This confidence creates a positive feedback loop. You get better offers, which leads to more savings. But let's address the elephant in the room. 10,000 sounds massive if you are starting from zero. The good news is you do not need to save it all next week. Speed is the enemy. Trying to save too aggressively backfires. The most successful savers start with comically small amounts of money, maybe $20 a week. The key is consistency, not the size of the initial contribution. Once you build the habit, you can increase the amount as your income grows over time. Here's a reality check. The average person spends $3,000 a year on coffee and convenience. If you redirect just 1/3 of that waste, you hit your goal much faster than expected. I'm not saying never drink coffee. I'm saying most people have more flexibility than they admit. The difference between Pete and the broke guy is usually awareness and intentionality, not the paycheck size. The compound effect of having 10,000 goes far beyond the security. It changes how you plan. It proves to yourself that you are capable of achieving a hard goal. That creates massive momentum. When you have the first 10,000, you start thinking about the next 10, then the next. Before you know it, you're on a path to independence, not because of luck, but habits. The transformation isn't about the money, it's about becoming the type of person who has money. That identity shift creates ripples that extend into every corner of your life you never expected. Let's talk about decision fatigue. This sounds like a buzzword, but it is a real energy drain. Every day you make thousands of tiny financial choices. Should I buy the generic or the brand? Can I afford lunch or must I pack a sandwich? Is premium gas worth it right now? Each micro decision burns mental fuel. By the end of the day, you are exhausted from calculating math. But when you have 10,000 in the bank, 90% of those decisions become totally irrelevant. You aren't choosing generic pasta because you are scared. You choose it because you simply prefer it. Imagine how much mental energy you free up if you stop doing survival calculations 50 times a day. I knew someone who cried the first time they bought groceries after hitting their savings goal, not because they bought champagne, but because they realized they could buy what they actually wanted to eat. That is a level of freedom most people don't realize they are missing until they finally feel it. Now let's get real. Having 10,000 saved does not make you rich or wealthy, not yet. You cannot quit your job to become a professional beach bum. You still have to work hard. You will still think twice before buying a $1,000 gadget. You are smart, not infinite. But what it gives you is breathing room, and breathing room is the foundation of good decisions. When you aren't gasping for air, you can think strategically instead of reacting to every little crisis. Maybe you notice your insurance is too high. You have time to shop around for better rates. Maybe you realize your phone plan is a ripoff. You switch without worrying about the fees. These optimizations save $50 here and there, but combined, they compound into serious wealth over time. Here is something interesting about psychology. When you have zero, every dollar feels precious and scarce. Losing a dollar feels like death. But with savings, individual dollars feel less precious, which is good. It makes you willing to spend money to make money. You stop stepping over dollars to save pennies. The broke person skips a $50 networking event because $50 is groceries for the week. But Pete, with savings, attends that event, meets a contact, and lands a $5,000 raise. The safety net doesn't make you careless, it makes you an investor in your own future success. I have seen this happen countless times. People with savings experience sudden acceleration in their career growth. It is not magic, it is because financial security gave them the confidence to take the right risks. Let's talk about the social dynamics of money. Nobody mentions this, but everyone feels it deeply. When you are stressed about money, you avoid friends. You withdraw because you cannot afford the fun. You might even resent friends who are stable. This bitterness rots your social circle from the inside. So there you have it. 10,000 isn't just a number, it is a complete life upgrade. From sleeping better at night to walking into interviews with power, it creates a massive domino effect. If you are currently staring at a balance that looks like a single digit, do not panic. Start small, stay consistent. Remember that the journey is about building the habit, not just the pile. The person you become while saving the first 10,000 is more valuable than the cash itself. That person is disciplined. That person is patient. That person is ready to build real wealth. Once you cross this line, the game changes. You stop playing defense and start playing offense. You stop worrying about losing and start planning on winning. That is the power of the buffer. Pete did it, you can do it too. It requires time, but the time will pass anyway. Make the time count. Look at your expenses today. Find the leaks, plug them up, start building. Your future self is begging you to start this process today. Do not let them down. Imagine yourself a year from now. Imagine checking your bank app and seeing 5 figures staring back. Imagine the silence in your head at 3 a.m. because you know you can handle anything. That peace is worth every sacrifice you will make to get there. It is the ultimate luxury. If you found value in this breakdown, make sure to like the video so others can see it. We are building a community of people who are taking control of their financial destiny right now. Subscribe to Pete Invests if you want to see exactly how we turn this 10,000 into more. The journey doesn't end here. This is just the first step on a very long, profitable road. I'm Pete, and I will see you in the next video. Keep building, keep saving, keep growing.